Good Wednesday morning.
Hey, good Wednesday morning, Mark. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing real good. I just got a good spark going this morning, and you have these days where you get up and you don't want to do anything. That's how my day started. But as I went through my ritual and my routine, I got going again, so it helped.
That's good. Yesterday was a gorgeous day by us, so we were outside as much as possible, riding bikes, taking walks. Nice to see other faces, as you walk through the town. So it was nice to see.
Yeah, I did my run. I started walking yesterday. I started working out again a week ago, and that's getting up to speed. It's really hard, man, when you don't do anything for 3 months. I mean, it's just like, the weights are heavy, your legs are heavy. It's just, because that's the process I went through with my nutrition stuff that I was doing. Is working out was not allowed. So now I'm working out again. I'm in a little pain, no question.
All right. Well, hopefully you'll keep doing that and it won't be painful over time.
Well, exactly. I mean, my legs feel good today. So right. I mean, the first day they haven't been in pain since I started a week ago. So anyway, things are moving along. I mean, there's so much garbage out there. I mean, I don't know what channels you're watching or you're reading from. And you know what? It's almost like, okay, I got to stop reading. I'll tell you exactly who I got to stop reading because it doesn't make any sense. It's in the New York Times. I mean, it's inconsistent, and from one article to the next, it just doesn't make sense to me. So that's one thing I'm not reading anymore. Apple News, almost just as bad, but it's better than the New York Times. I don't know about you and what you're reading.
So I actually kind of took a step back from social media at the end of last week and reading news and watching news, and I'm doing my best not to spend my day doing that because there's just such negativity out there, and a lot of people just attacking each other for what's going on. So just trying to focus on the positive, trying to work with whoever I can to help them. We did announce yesterday that we are having a small business week next week.
Right.
Any small business that wants to come on and talk to us and tell the public about their deals or their specials, definitely let us know. We'll give you a venue for that. But that's really what I'm trying to do and focus on, trying to keep work going. There are sellers out there wanting to put their houses on the market. There are buyers out there that are starting now to come out with precautions of masks and gloves and booties if needed. But there are people who need to move and really want to make sure to figure out what their game plan is for the summer. I was on the conference call last night with a new buyer for 45 minutes, just explaining the process and then explaining the new process now of what we have to go through in order to help them find a house. And they were very appreciative that I just broke it down and made sure they understood what they need to do now in order to look for a house.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing for sellers and for real estate agents is that when you're looking for sell by owners, honestly, they need the realtor help more than ever because no one's going to go to a for sale by owner because they're looking for that professional to help them to not only get through the process. I mean, that might even be secretary. It's a safety reason, thinking that the agent is going to be ready for that safety part of it. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of precautions that need to be taken, but there are anxious buyers and sellers out there. This is the spring market. This is if most people don't all of a sudden wake up one morning and say, "Hey, I'm going to put my house on the market," or "I want to buy something." It's something that we've been, they've been talking about, thinking about for 4, 6, 9, 12 months maybe.
Right.
And, so they may have gotten delayed because they wanted to start in March or April. We're approaching May now, and they just want to, now get started so that they can make sure to find something before, the end of the summer. So we're here to help. Whatever anyone needs, any agents that need help with conversations with their clients, you can reach out to Dave or myself. Any, buyers and sellers, you want more information, reach out to any one of us or any one of our team members. We're happy to help. Again, whatever is needed.
Yeah, absolutely. So
let's bring on our special guest today.
Absolutely.
Super special guest, Erica Baldino from
Hi. Good morning.
Also known as the Title Queen.
Title Queen, right? She knows a lot about New Jersey, knows a lot about gambling.
She does all 50 states, I believe. Is that correct?
I do. I'm national. I do all 50 states. Jersey is where I'm from. We'll talk about my Jersey roots, I guess, later in the program, but I do insure nationally. So
tell us, Erica, what's going on with closings these days? Are still things somewhat smooth for you?
For the first time, I've had to tell a handful of clients that we can't insure this file until after COVID.
And
And
why is that?
that's due to a gap in searching. It's due to counties being closed to searchers, or counties only go back to the year 2000, the year 2001, and I can't go back further. So if there's gaps in the chain, then we just have to wait until I get access to all the records that I need. Some counties are overnighting records to us, but most won't let us in. So
Right.
I hate telling people that I can't insure them. That's like the worst feeling in the world.
If
Especially
you
on
can't
these.
insure them, that means no one can insure them. They have to wait until after COVID.
Um, Evidently, I'm being told that there are some title companies that are putting exceptions in the policy that basically state we did all we could, but we can't see between 1990 and 2001. So you're not covered between 1990 and 2001 should something arise.
Right.
So that exception stays. And then there's some attorneys that are okay with it, which they shouldn't be for their buyer. And then there's some banks that are accepting it, which is kind of scary, because what that would mean for your new buyer is that if there was a mortgage or a judgment or a lien of some sort between 95 and 2001, that all of a sudden reared its head 2 years from now, your client would not be protected.
Right.
So I don't think the clients understand the gravity of that. Your normal retail buyer certainly doesn't. They just want to close.
Right.
It's never a problem until it's a problem.
It's true. And what about the closings themselves? You mentioned to us last time you were doing them on a front hood of your car. Is that still happening on the car closings, or are you able to go back into an office and close?
So there are some conference rooms that started opening up. My conference room is open for closings. But you know what? I think at the end of the day, it's whatever makes everyone's client feels the safest. I've done a closing where it literally was like a drug deal. It was in a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot. The couple got out of the car. They threw the closing package at me. They were wearing their masks, even inside their car, and they wanted to do everything on the phone. And then the next day I did a closing where I walked into the person's house, and her and her husband were drinking a beer, and they're like, yeah, we're over it. We're not going to put on gloves or a mask. And I was like, that's fine. I'm going to wear my gloves and mask. And they were like, cool, do whatever you want to do. So there is a wide spectrum, and it's really all about making the client feel comfortable, and just meeting their expectations. So yeah, we've done car closings. Remote online notarization has passed in the state. Our governor signed it into law about 3 weeks ago. And that means basically virtually nothing for real estate, because the banks aren't ready. And it's nothing against the banks. It's just that investors don't want to buy loans where the entire loan package was signed remotely. There seems to be a misconception in the industry on what that means. So actual remote online notarization would be when myself and a client sign into an approved vendor.
Right.
So it's sort of like a DocuSign, basically. And I would be watching the client sign. And then when it's my turn to notarize, I would be pressing a button, and a stamp would go on that piece of paper, a virtual stamp, a virtual signature, just like DocuSign works. It's all virtual. That's remote online notarization. It's not, I'm watching you right now on Zoom, and Mark signed the paper and then overnighted it to me, and I put my wet signature on the paper. That's a hybrid closing, which some are happening. But an actual true remote online notarization, I would never see those documents. And it's permissible now in the state. But again, for investors to buy a loan where the notarization isn't real, they're just not willing to do so right now. And in that same vein, investors are looking for any excuse to not buy loans right now. So no one's doing a true remote online notarization, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, no one's utilizing it. I mean, we've been approved in Miami and New York way before New Jersey, and we've never used RON closings. Not true remote online notarization. Now, to Skype in an attorney to watch, or for me to watch you and then feel comfortable enough to take an acknowledgement after you give me back the package, that's totally different than what a true remote online notarization is. And there are some times where I feel comfortable, you know, Dave, if you're inside your house and you and I are on Skype or on Zoom, you know, and I'm sitting in my car and then I explain everything to you and then you walk the package back out, I personally feel comfortable to take that acknowledgement as a notary. I know that it was you. I know that there was no misdoings in the package. I don't know if I would feel as comfortable if you overnighted it to me, because you never know what could happen in transit.
Right.
So, you know, but yeah, a true Ron closing, as they call it, has not happened in this state.
All right, but it's good to see that business is happening. Closings are taking place. You know, buyers are able to buy, sellers are able to sell. So, you know, is that only on residential stuff, or is the commercial world stopped, or where are we at with that? Anything
over 3 million has come to a grinding halt for a multitude of reasons. I'm on one now where the bank is the liquidity is just not there, and the bank doesn't want to fund the loan. So north of 3 million, you're having an issue there. Right. Underwriters, however, for title, everything under over 3 million needs special approvals, and they are afraid. So, by the way, online searching that we're using now is not 100% accurate, which is why we've never used it in the past. We've always gone inside the record room. So now we're going to our default, which is online searching, because that's all we've had, but that doesn't mean it's accurate. So to use it for a $500,000 purchase, they kind of have done their risk assessment and they're like, okay, it might not be the most accurate, but it's good enough. But north of 3 million, they're not going to trust an online search to do a $500 million property. So our commercial team is at a standstill right now, and it's very dry. It feels like a recession, you know, in the last couple months. Construction loans as well. We're not insuring them. And that's any price point. That could be, you know, a $400,000 to a $3K loan. We're not insuring them. The reason is because construction loans, after you close, there's a draw schedule. So the homeowner requests for money to then be given to a contractor or given to them after the closing. And what we do is we do a rundown to just make sure that there's no judgments that pop up. So the judgments that we're looking for is if your roofer did the job and you stiffed your roofer and he got pissed off and he put a lien on the property for 10 grand. We would do a rundown and we would say, oh my God, you didn't pay your roofer. We need to pay him first, and then we can give you the rest. Well, because there's such a lag in the court system, that roofer can't go in front of a judge to put a lien on the property. So if we were to continue insuring construction loans, there would be maybe all of these possible claims for people that have tried to record a judgment or a lien that we didn't see, that we didn't pay, and it would just be a nightmare. So because of that, every underwriter is like, yeah, no construction loans.
So what's the thought process in your industry on how long, when things start getting back to normal and they open up the government again, the local governments for recordings, how long will it take for the backlog? What do you think? The backlog, how long will the backlog take?
So in the busy season, the counties are already slow in recordings. There are some in-person recordings that take 3 weeks to a month when the counties are super, super, super busy. In the counties that there's e-recording, the backup is not that bad, because what e-recording does, it allows us to upload the document. They record it electronically, and then we send in the real document so that they know that they did the right thing and it wasn't fraudulent. But it very well could be months and months and months that they are recording stuff. And we're one of the only states, maybe not one of the only states, but we're one of the only states that records your deed and your mortgage way after you close. I think we were talking about this before on your show. In California, the notary actually takes the notarization for the mortgage and the deed in the morning they call it on close of escrow. Then they go to the actual county, they record it that day, and then in the afternoon, they finish closing escrow and they give out the true copy of the deed that's been recorded to the client. We don't do that here. I don't know why. It's just the way that we are. We take the mortgage, we take the deed, we hope to God the title company remembers to send it in. Once they send it into the county loses the mortgage. I get a phone call. Can you get a new mortgage executed? I mean, it takes us 2-3 months typically. And once they're recorded, then we can issue a final title policy.
Wow.
So what title companies are doing now is every client is we're issuing gap insurance, which covers the time that we close to the time that documents are recorded in case something else goes on record or there's some sort of misdoing on the property. We're indemnifying that they'll be covered and that they'll help us fix whatever issue goes on record.
How much cost does that add to your situation, to the bill? What does that add, that gap insurance?
It's not costing the agents, it's costing all of the underwriters. So kind of to put it in like mortgage terms, you have a lot of mortgage brokers that then, broker loans to Fannie or Freddie or Wells or however they want to do it. So with title agents, we are an agency and I broker or I insure from Chicago, First American, Fidelity, Stewart, Westcor, WTG. So those are kind of who I broker to, and it's their money. They're the ones that are issuing the gap insurance.
Okay. All right. So what's the cost of doing business for you guys?
Refis are great right now. I mean, I know that sounds crazy. I've said it before. I've kind of flip-flopped. I'm normally 25% refi, 75% purchase, and I'm totally flip-flopped. I'm 75% refi right now, 25% purchase. And it seems that the purchase contracts that are coming in went under contract between January and March. So I haven't really gotten any that have gone under contract April, May.
Okay.
But it's nice to see that business has been able to continue, at least on the residential level, and that people can buy and sell houses still, and that title companies are able to get the closings done for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's like, "Oh my God, are you still insuring?" It's really a case by case basis. It depends on the county. It depends when the sellers took title. It depends on if it's an estate. It depends if there's a tax lien. Like, there's so many caveats and variables that. Again, a good agent will make sure if they're a selling agent, they'll ask for a copy of the owner's policy right off the bat as soon as they take the listing.
Right.
And then their attorney on the buyer side is going to order title more prematurely than they're used to. Maybe they won't wait for a mortgage commitment. You know what I mean? They may not even wait for home inspection anymore. They may say, holy crap, I have a contract. Let's see if it's even possible to close. And they're going to call me, much earlier in the cycle than they normally do.
Right.
So we're trying to get stuff done.
Yeah. So we understand that you're a person that enjoys Atlantic City.
I love Atlantic City.
Right. So a lot of people in the country don't really understand Atlantic City. It was like years ago. I don't know if I was there. Like years ago, it was the place to go back in 70 years ago. Then it went down. Now, as you were growing up, it was already back up. The first casino opened around 1978, and that was Resorts. Caesars was soon to follow, and then now you look at what you got now. So, what's going on in the gaming industry down in Atlantic City? Are things going to open up there again, and when? And what's going to be different?
So I'm obsessed with Atlantic City, partly because I was saying offline that I grew up in Atlantic City. So that was my beach of choice when my mother, had 3 kids and she would take us to the beach. It was Atlantic City. And evidently for North Jerseyans, that's a crazy thing. They don't understand why I didn't go to LBI or I don't know, any of your other beaches. But yeah, it was Ocean City or if you wanted a dry beach with no alcohol, you went to Ocean City. And if you wanted a little cocktail and to watch your kids, you went to Atlantic City. My mother preferred the latter. So yes, I'm obsessed with Atlantic City. So I'm also obsessed with the history of Atlantic City. One of the reasons that Atlantic City became the epicenter, a very, very high-end resort area, is because it's right on the ocean. That's why all of the buildings there are constructed with doors that open on the first floor, because it was an original form of air conditioning. So in the 20s and 30s, they would open all of the doors up, and the wind would come off of the ocean, and that's what would air condition before air condition. So it was a very high-end town, and the who's who would fly, well, not fly, train from all over to go to Atlantic City as a luxury resort destination. So since then, it's seen its ups and downs. It's had its fair share of real estate tradings over the past 5 years, which I post constantly about. And now, as we stand, lights are out in Atlantic City. The hotel and gaming has pretty much stopped. I just had a buyer who was under contract that was the pit boss at the Borgata, and he can't buy the house right now because he's furloughed and has no income. So he told me that it looks like he'll be rehired, but they're not making any guarantee. So it seems that we already had a trade. Caesars sold Bally's to another entity that's going to run the actual business. They didn't sell the real estate, kept it, but they sold Bally's. So they will be breathing some fresh air into that casino. But yeah, they're pretty nervous right now because the whales, as they call them, your people that are super, super, super high-end people that have a ton of money to gamble, that's really what keeps these casinos afloat. They'll lose 6 figures in a night, and they don't even cry about it. Most of those people are 55 and older, and they might not be so keen to just fly to Vegas, fly to Atlantic City, and spend all their money right now. They may say, you know what, I don't want to be around people. I'd rather maybe gamble in the privacy of my own home, electronically, or I might just want to go sit in a resort for a couple months and wait this all out. So people are hesitant to eat in casinos. They're hesitant to sit at a table next to somebody they don't know. So you've already seen a change in the way that casinos are going to look. I just shared pictures yesterday of poker tables with dividers in them. They have like plastic dividers in between each seat. And the same thing with slot machines. So it's kind of crazy to think that, a poker table or like a craps table will only be 20% occupied, 30% occupied. So it's crazy. And the restaurants too. I mean, you're going to see everybody with gloves and masks. The clubs may not open right away. I mean, it won't look like the same Atlantic City that we're used to.
Right. I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the entertainment world in general, not just Atlantic City, but restaurants and movie theaters, where everyone's going to have that, physical distancing so that, everyone feels safe, right? And everyone knows that, I'm going to be safe going to this restaurant. So if they have to, keep people 6 feet apart, you're going to have 40 or 50% occupancy on restaurants throughout any city,
right.
Which is going to be a challenge. So, I think I think that we're going to have to be patient and wait and see how this all plays out. But people need to understand that all these businesses, maybe not the casinos as much, but even the casinos really need the customers in order to survive. And if the customers are going to stop going out, or if they're able to go out, then be separated by so many people, it may not be as enjoyable as it was a year ago.
Yeah, and I mean, you also have to take into consideration, do people have, fun money that they can just spend for a weekend in Atlantic City? Right. That was just coming back over the last 3 or 4 years where people are like, all right, I'll take a couple $100. I'll go down. We'll have a nice meal. We'll play some slots and we'll stay in a hotel room.
Right.
But now, after COVID, with so many layoffs and furloughs, and the unknown of the economy, I don't know if that disposable income is going to be there in 2 months, right. 3 months. So
there are so many unknowns with that. I mean, how many people have been furloughed? I mean, Macy's furloughed a bunch of people. Are those jobs going to be there? Are there going to be jobs?
Yeah,
because things are going to change. Are there going to be as many jobs as they were before? We don't know that. I mean, who knows? I mean, this is I hate the phrase uncharted territory.
Yeah, and I mean, it's very interesting because a lot of the casino revenue is also derived from the hotel revenue. So what's going to change with hotel rooms? I heard an interview from the CEO of Airbnb yesterday, who 2020 was projected to be his best year. He was projected to go public. This was supposed to be a banner year for Airbnb. And now he said online he's just been baking cookies every day because he doesn't know how else to keep himself sane, because he's clearly not in a position to go public anymore. He just had to put $250 million of cash back into Airbnb to sustain some of these. There's serial landlords that they have that are basically serial Airbnb hosts, and they're dead in the water right now. So
that's interesting to hear, because if you look at all of the vacation rental sites here in New Jersey, all the beach towns, that you can't get a beach rental May, June, July, or August right now. There's very few houses left. There's a couple apartments or, you know, studios and stuff like that, but a lot of the houses were taken for a month, even, it looks like, at a time, where people from the city or from other places are coming down just to get out and have a beach town to live in for a week or two this summer. So, you know, it's interesting to see that he's having trouble. I guess nationwide, you know, a lot of people use it for business, and only the resort area or the beach areas where people are looking to go to for the summer.
Right. So what he was saying is Airbnb will be putting in new protocols, such as they're not going to allow back-to-back rentals. They're not going to allow, you know, you on a Saturday, Dave on a Sunday, me on a Monday. They're going to make sure that there's a 24-hour window of no one in the room, and then it will be rented again, which is going to severely cut the number of nights that a landlord could rent. But it's going to make sure that it's clean for 24 hours. They're obviously going to have sanitation procedures, because the difference between a hotel and Airbnb is there's no cleaning crew normally. Right. I mean, listen, landlords can do whatever they want, but there's no full-on cleaning crew that's making sure the room is clean. Right. So now he needs to make sure that there's policies and procedures in place for a clean and sanitized room. Right. You know, will the hotels follow suit? Will they leave that 24-hour gap night in between guests? Would Airbnb be safer then because they're doing that? And maybe he will see his profits skyrocket. I don't know, but I know right now he's sucking wind, unfortunately. So the business landscape is changing. Yeah, it's changing.
Yeah. It is. So it's so different. Everything is so different now. And you know what? I guess I'm an ultimate optimist. I believe everything's going to get back to the way it was to a point. Cleanliness will change, you know, masks and stuff, but I hope it's not a year or two. I hope it's quicker than that, but I do understand, you know, everybody's concerns and cleanliness as well. So
I mean, my whole take on it is I think it'll take a year or two, but my phrase is that Americans have short-term memory loss. We just do as a culture. So, and I mean, I use 9/11 as an example, and I know it's really a grueling example, and I know people don't want to think about it, but the first 2 years after 9/11, the airlines were just so good about everything. And people were very complicit in lines waiting to be scanned. They understood the reasoning. They understood why they couldn't take liquids on. Everyone was really good about everything. And now the lines are out of control. People are complaining. They're pissed off they can't take their laptop with them or whatever the new rule is. And they have TSA pre-check, which for me, I think is ridiculous, because you're basically giving somebody free 5 years to walk in and off of the plane, and who knows what their objectives are without having to wait in line with everybody else. Right. So we were so good for 2 years after 9/11, and now I think we are lazier than ever with airline procedures. So I think the same thing will happen in COVID. I think for a year or two, we're going to be so good. We're going to sanitize. We're going to clean. We're going to wear our masks. And then it's going to go back to normal, where who knows if your table's even cleaned after you're at a restaurant. Who knows?
Who knows? Well, we're coming out of time, but we want to remind everyone next week is Small Business Week. If you have a small business, if you know a small business, tell them, get in touch with Dave or myself. We would love to feature them, get them on the show, get them in front of new customers, and see what we can do to help. So definitely reach out to us if you are a small business anywhere in the country. Erica, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
Thanks for all your insight, Dave. Have a great day. Everyone enjoy. We'll see you here back tomorrow morning. We have a great guest tomorrow, so make sure to join us on time, 8:45 tomorrow morning.
Awesome. See you tomorrow, man. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.